I'd like to call to order the Monday, August 14th, 2023 meeting of the Advisory Plan Commission for the City of Greenwood. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
That motion to approve the minutes of July 24th, 2022. We have a second by Mr. Walker, motion by Monica. All in favor, please show by raising a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Special requests and continuances. Mr. Nelson, do you want this one or?
I think the petitioner is online for the PC 2023-028.
Yes, sir. We asked for a continuance. We did refile the plat last week, so.
Can you state your name and your affiliation with this project?
Oh, sorry. My name is Bill Terry. I'm with Y Engineers. We're the surveyor and engineer for the project for the Seven Brew.
And we have discussed a date with the petitioner of August 28th for the petition to be continued to. The planning staff felt that the plans were insufficient and not ready to be reviewed by staff or before you at Plan Commission. So we are in agreement with the petitioner and also request a continuance to allow for more time for a review and for them to update their plans.
2 weeks will be sufficient.
We'll start there, and if needed, we may request our second continuance if the plans have not passed through our technical review committee.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Monica for continuance of PC 2023-028 till August 28th. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Gardner. All in favor, please show by raising a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Under old business, PC 2023-032, the Pulte Gong zone map change. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak either in favor of this or opposed, please stand and be sworn in.
Do you swear under penalties for perjury testimony you're about to give is true to the best of your knowledge?
This is a continuance of a hearing. Previously, it had never been closed. Yeah. Can you state your name and address, please?
Yes, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Rex Ramage, Pulte Homes, 11590 North 30th Street. So this is, as you mentioned, second go around of the project.
I'm sorry, I think there was something that we were going to say. Do we still have the sign-in sheet?
There's one up here, yes.
Okay, if you could
Fill
put
it out.
pertinent information on there, that will help us out in the minutes.
Absolutely. Let me share it real quick. Yeah, go right in. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I believe we're all familiar. I brought hard copies. I know in the past, some people have had a little trouble seeing these. Is there anyone that would like a hard copy? No, okay.
I would make one for
You
our
would,
file.
sure, absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So just kind of a refresher of where we're talking about here. This is the northeast quadrant of the city. We are south of County Line Road, east of I-65. Up on County Line, there's the Casey's, and then the new Jet Floyd apartment, multi-family project up to the north. The square of white in the middle is the Ridgetop plat that was just recently approved in front of the commission. The subject property there outlined in red in the middle, and then Pulte's Del Webb Sage Briar development just to the east side of the So here's a copy of the concept plan. We've gone through the tech review. We were here before. We've gotten a lot of input on this. We do realize there's a block length, so staff communicated that to us. So when the plat comes forward, we satisfy that requirement. And then Mr. and Mrs. Janice here in the back of the room, they are kind of the cutout on the eastern side of the property, who live off of 5 Points Road. So the community will have 55 lots. It's proposed to be rezoned to the city's residential medium zoning district. The homes, an illustrative exhibit of what the homes would look like would be something like these on the screen here. And then a second page there. The homes, there's a ranch plan that's about 1,800 square feet. All the 2-story homes, I believe, are 2,400 square feet and above. All of them have at least 3 bedrooms. Most of them have 4, 2-car garages, high quality materials. We are not proposing to use any architectural path that would use vinyl. These would be HardiePlank homes. And then I think the only outstanding issue that we had when we left the public hearing open was Mr. St. John and the team here. We're trying to work out the road improvements on 5 Points Road and what the entrance design would look like. We had met with Mr. McManus at the parcel, outlining an initial, acquisition of right of way that looked like something in the area 35 feet plus or minus, and that would be in that red area there. Just to give you some context, as you're traveling southbound on 5 Points Road, the original design was a typical decel right turn lane into the development. So if you're looking at the left-hand side of your screen, as you're traveling southbound, you kind of see how that red line jogs to the west, and that would be for cars to slow down, enter that turning lane, and then turn right. The need for that, or I guess that design needed additional right-of-way from the McManuses. So we met with them, we've talked with them a handful of times, and had collectively determined that that's not the design that they wanted us to move forward with. So we spent some time trying to figure out what road improvements would look like if we didn't do that, taper with the right-hand turn. We met with Mr. St. John and Mr. Nelson, I believe it was about a week ago, with a proposed design, and then actually just resent this exhibit the after, so to speak, on the right-hand side of the page. That was just sent to him late last week. I believe got his blessing this morning. So the idea is that red line that holds the western edge of the pavement there. So we would not be developing or extending asphalt improvements into the McManus parcel. We would actually be doing a quasi-passing blister on the opposite side, on the eastern side of 5 Points, to lessen or have virtually no impact from a road improvement perspective on the McManus property. So cars, you can kind of see it. There's kind of a purple hatching just below the F in the word after. So the striping of the pavement will move cars away from the McManus parcel so they can continue going, straight southbound. Then if they want to make a right-hand turn into the development, they'll have a dedicated lane to do so. And then of course, on the other side, on the eastern side of 5 Points, you'll see kind of 2 lanes straight going north. And then once you get beyond to the northern side of this intersection of the development, that's when it kind of starts to taper back and transitions back down into 1 single lane going north. So that's the design. That's what we talked with the city about. Mr. and Mrs. McManus are here. Happy to let them speak in any capacity that they like to, if they would. But other than that, I'm here to answer any questions of you all and respect their request or favorable recommendation. There are 3 conditions or commitments outlined in the staff report. We would agree or be accepting of all 3 of those as part of the motion tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this? Seeing none, are there any remonstrators? Seeing none, close public hearing.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I see where this, you got 2 lanes going in back down to 1, which of course is, we all know how that works in real life. But how far up does the 2 lanes go down here? Or how far down? Where's the 2 lanes start? Where do you have the same thing up here as you do down here?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Yep, so the,
Bigger picture.
see if I can describe it here. So I do not have an image of that, but you can kind of see the Sagebriar entrance. If you're looking at the bottom of the red rectangle and you follow that to the east, you see the entrance to the Sagebriar development there.
Like right here or down here?
It-
Oh, that corner, no, down here.
Yeah, right there. So that's the entrance to the Sagebriar development. So as you're coming northbound from Main Street, you would have one lane going northbound, which is typical what it is today. And then you'd have that, as I described earlier, that taper and then the deceleration lane to make a right-hand turn. You'd have that design aspect south of the Sagebriar entrance. And then coming out of the Sagebriar development to go northbound, instead of just having an angled taper, which is kind of just a triangular shape where it'll be, I'm messing this up for layman's terms, but essentially the additional pavement needed to carry that passing blister, that through traffic around, that's creating that second lane. So to the south of the development, you'd have the two lanes continuing to go south that would funnel back into one. And then as you're going northbound, it would be a single lane with a dedicated right-hand turn.
So it's not a second through lane, it's an extension of that right turn lane into the Del Webb Sagebriar development. It's the right turn lane, and then our typical entrance standard requires a decelerate or a acceleration taper when you come out of the development. And that kind of ran together, not very cleanly with the passing blisters for the gone redevelopment, if that makes sense. And so we ran it together as one big lane and basically just extended that
So basically,
taper out further.
like this, like that, goes back to that. I mean, to me, that's providing a bottleneck of traffic, huh?
I don't think it will, because there'll be 150, so as you're coming northbound on 5 Points, there'll be a taper to get to Sagebriar, there'll be the right turn lane, and there'll be whatever the difference is between Sagebriar and Gone, I don't know that it's top of my head, 200 something feet, and then the taper back to one lane of traffic. So there's no reason for through traffic to get into that outside lane unless they're passing a left turning vehicle or turning right to Sagebriar.
This is somewhat of a similar traffic situation as we have on Sheik Road in a few places.
Likely, I can't think of any exact.
Not
locations off the top of my
exact.
head. I'm sure other locations exist. Basically, our minimum entrance requirements would have kind of bled together into one, so we could clean it up somewhat.
Is there an issue with Sagebriar and the Gone properties not aligning?
I think with this proposed, so in an ideal world, they would align, or they'd be farther apart. I think with this proposed lane configuration, we kind of relieve those concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Because there's space to get around those left turning vehicles.
That was my question. I noticed the development was kind of what appears to be in the middle of the field. I didn't know why that wouldn't be aligned with that other subdivision across the road.
Mr.
So
Rand,
maybe it's
probably speak
owned
to
by
that
different people.
better, my understanding is they've been unable to acquire either parcel or the other side of that.
Correct. So the, we call them the rectangular, for like we use the word shotgun, but the long skinny rectangular tracks, there's three of them that were broken up into three. Due to the cutout of the home that the McManuses live in, we can't really push it any further north.
Oh,
The entrance, I mean, we've tried to acquire the property both to the north and to the south. And for a variety of different reasons, it's not working out. So we did provide the connectivity substreets to them if and when they do develop. But directly, there's no more space.
I have a question about the utilities that will be used to go from east or west to east.
Mhm.
Will that include water lines or trunk line sewer lines?
Yes, so there would be a gravity sewer that's being brought over. If you can kind of, so take the Casey's icon, you can see that it goes south. So there's the first white industrial building, there's a second white industrial building, and there's kind of a little bit of a gap. It's like a darker color on the screen. That's where the sewer exists today, in that little gap. So sewer is actually being brought over for Sagebriar through Ridgetop, which is the white development that's on the west side of Combs Road, through this development to get to 5 Points, ultimately east to 5 Points. So that's all a gravity sanitary sewer line. And then water is coming up 5 Points, and I fully expect that we would have to get that looped all the way through back to Combs Road.
So the project's somewhat of a necessity to keep utilities, and to extend them, you propose a subdivision and offset the cost that the utilities would make to pay.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a necessity, but we think it's a benefit to the city to be able to provide an extension of the sewer, gravity sewer, but then also closing the loop on the water just to make sure there's sufficient pressure.
So you're improving utilities in the whole area.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Accept a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the petition for a zone map change to rezone approximately 24.07 acres of land excuse me, located between Combs and 5 Points Roads south of County Line Road within the city of Greenwood, Johnson County, Indiana, from AG Agricultural District to RM Residential Medium Lot Zone as set forth therein, receive a favorable recommendation from this commission to the Greenwood Common Council, and that the same be certified to the Greenwood Common Council in the form presented with the following commitments. One, the development shall be in compliance with Unified Development Ordinance as amended. Compliance with this condition must be met before a land alteration permit is released. Two, any infrastructure improvements will be performed in accordance with the Technical Review Committee. And three, an east-west through road connecting Combs Road and 5 Points Road shall be required.
Okay, before you get a second, I would like to remind you of the statutory criteria that you're supposed to pay reasonable regard to in making your recommendation. And that is 1, the comprehensive plan. 2, the current conditions and the character of the current structures and uses in each district. 3, the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. 4, the conservation of property values throughout Greenwood, and 5, responsible development and growth.
Okay, have heard the 5 criteria. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Milburn? Last questions or comments before we take a vote? Seeing none, all in favor, please show by raising a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Good luck. Is there any old business from the floor? Seeing none. New business. Only new business that's on the agenda has been continued to August 28th.
There is a waiver as well.
Have a waiver? Oh, well, yeah, that's next on the agenda.
Yes.
You said the only other new business.
Oh, the perfect. Other new business, PC 2023-042, Shiloh's Corner Landscape Waiver. This is not a public hearing. So, who do we have presenting?
Derek Snyder with Crossing Engineers.
Okay. See?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, my name's Derek Snyder with Crossing Engineers, 115 North 17th Avenue. Here on behalf of NJL Stones Crossing LLC to request a landscape waiver for the Shiloh Corner commercial subdivision. Was the diagram included in the packet?
Yeah, you should have received a staff report with the petitioner's statement of reasons to the statutory criteria. As well, we did include in that, the last page was a page of the site plan that highlighted the area that in question with the landscaping. It's actually highlighted in red, the 30-foot buffer area, and then their alternate planting locations were in purple. It looks like IT is helping get that on the screen.
So again, a little background, this project has received primary plat approval in the spring, and we have filed secondary plat and construction plans with the city, and we've gone through tech review in the process of addressing some final comments in order to appear before the Board of Public Works for acceptance of the plat and the bonds. One of the steps in the process was addressing some landscape comments that we've received. So the project is located on Stones Crossing Road, the northeast corner of Galena and Stones Crossing. This is due south of the barn at Bay Horse Inn. It's zone CM commercial medium, commercial small located to the north, which is barn at Bay Horse Inn, large residential to the east, large commercial to the south, which is Schwartz Crossing, and then two residential zoning districts to the west. As I said, the property is located south of Barn Bay Horse Inn at the north side of Stones Crossing. The site layout, the landscape plan, this is the exhibit that Mr. Nelson was alluding to. So the request before you is to allow the buffer yard plantings that would be required about the west side of the property to be planted around the detention pond. We have some site constraints, including two water lines along the western property line or western side of the property that actually come off the water main on Stones Crossing and extend up into the barn at Bay Horse Inn. Those water lines are the domestic and fire suppression system lines for the barn. And the intent is to leave those in place. And as such, we're limited in the space that takes up some space that we would typically have for planting, but we don't want to put the trees too close to those water lines and really crowd it. So the thought is we can move them into more open space by the pond, provide a better growing environment. And with that, the request of waiver has come from the board. We appreciate staff's favorable recommendation. And happy to answer any questions that you might have.
There's ample existing foliage on that west side currently, correct?
Yeah, correct. So Galena is actually a private street, and there are several large existing pine trees that are actually on the adjoiner's property, but the way we've created the site is such that other than our drive connection, all those trees are to remain, and then we're planting more trees in that red area. There are, I think, a dozen or more trees to be planted there. The remainder of the trees will be planted near the pond.
If I may add, we have buffering when two incompatible zones are next to each other. This simply isn't the case with this one. It is just how our zoning map has been drawn. This section that they're buffering is the zoning of the private street that extends up to the apartments. So it's not adjacent to the apartments, it's adjacent to the private street that has zoning on it. Typically, a public street would not have any buffering next to it because it's right of way. But since this is private, it included some of that zoning that required a buffer yard. there's already sufficient street tree plantings and existing trees landscaped along that road that are located on the private property. And then in addition, they are adding more landscaping there, so we felt that it was really duplicative to have a full buffer yard along the street, and felt that the planting would actually be much better suited elsewhere on the site, especially given the intended use of the site and the surrounding uses with the event center.
The apartments begin north of this red rectangle, correct?
Yes, the apartments begin north of there. None of the apartments are actually adjacent to this property. It was just the private road that extends down that's adjacent. And that private road captured some of our zoning since it was not a public road.
Yeah, so the southeast corner of the apartments is essentially our northwest corner. So to Gabe's point, the area in question is really just Galena Drive that was zoned as the, I think, RMC district as part of the Copper Chase Apartments. And in terms of, I know it's kind of difficult to see on that exhibit, I believe there's 20 or so existing trees. And then we're planting another, I think, a dozen or so, plus the shrubs that are required, and then the remainder of those trees that would be crammed in there, for lack of a better word, are being planted over by the detention pond.
Can you identify the land uses, the uses of the building on the proposed design?
The two far western uses are full service restaurant, and then the building in the southeast corner is a multi-tenant retail.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? If not, accept a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the request of Amanda Cottingham Johnson for a waiver of the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance, Greenwood Municipal Code, Chapter 10, Article 25, Division 3, Generally Applicable Regulations, Section 10-03-06, Landscaping and Buffering. 1, buffering that specifies a minimum 30-foot medium-sized buffer yard where differing districts and zones abut, to allow a portion of the required buffer landscape plantings along the west boundary where the CM property abuts RMC property to be relocated to the west and south sides of the proposed detention pond due to space and topographical constraints be approved, and that the Plan Commission find that Johnson has met the criteria set forth by Greenwood Municipal Code, Section 10-04-03K for the waiver for the reasons set forth in its request for the waiver and as presented.
Mr. Lexi?
Here's Mr.
Mr. Walker?
Oh, sorry.
You threw your voice.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Any final questions or comments? Seeing none. All in favor, please show by raising a hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 9-0. Good luck, Mr. Snyder.
Thank you.
Is there any new business from the floor?
Since we're the only one left, my name is Rebecca Summers, and I was
Would you
actually
like to-
here,
Would you like to talk to us?
absolutely. My name is Rebecca Summers, and I live at 3045 Meridian Meadows Road in Greenwood, Indiana. And I was actually here for the PC 2023-28 FTMT primary plat. And I know that has a continuance, so there's not really much that can be said. My only issue that I have is that I had some issues with the traffic flow. And I can no longer be here on the 28th because I'm having major surgery, and that's when it's being continued to.
Is there someone who can speak for you? Because this should
Well, I'm
be,
working on that,
okay,
but.
'cause this should be addressed after hearings.
Right, so, but my question would be, or do I have to give this that came from the Seymour Department of Transportation? I didn't know if this is something that the commission would like to have in advance, or if this is something that whoever speaks on my behalf brings it back.
I should,
You
you
can-
presented,
I was gonna say, you can provide any documents that, or remonstrations, or letters of support, what I'm not saying either,
Sure.
or to staff. If you just
Okay.
put your name and address, and it can be an email, it can be a handwritten letter, we will read those into the record for the public hearing at the meeting. You can also attend over virtually over Zoom, if that's an option. I know sometimes people can't be here, but they can still attend virtually.
Yeah, I'll probably be in the hospital, so I don't.
Okay.
But I will try to get somebody on my behalf.
And then, yes, someone with, on your behalf could also attend, and, but we do accept letters and emails and any information that you would like attached to that, if you just wanna explain it.
All right,
We will read it out loud to them,
all right,
or have them read it ahead of time if it's too lengthy.
all right, yeah. All right, thank you so much.
They're good. Or, you know, yeah, that's. Okay. Is there any other new business from the floor? Are there any announcements? Mr. Nelson, would you like to?
I do have
Up to the microphone.
one little announcement, so our comprehensive plan is in the process of being crafted, our new comprehensive plan. And right now, we're looking for input from the public, input from citizens of Greenwood. So every time I get a hot mic, I might do a little pitch for the comprehensive plan. We have our first in-person community workshop, and for those in the public too, September 12th at the public library right next door. It's at 4:30 to 7:30. You don't have to be there the whole time. It's a rolling time. There'll be plenty of activities, time for discussion, and little presentations to explain what a comprehensive plan is and why your input is important. So I'd encourage you guys to be advocates for the city of Greenwood and help share that news, spread that news around Greenwood. We'll be sending out flyers. You'll hopefully see things in the paper, online. So just keep your eyes out and maybe mark that date on your calendar. Next week, or not next week, in 2 weeks, we'll also be doing a special presentation on the comprehensive plan, little update for Plan Commission at the Plan Commission meeting. So get excited for that.
That's September 11th.
Date,
12.
The in-person community workshop is Tuesday, September 12th.
and then this meeting
The
with
meeting's
us.
September 11th.
It's not with you, it's just with everyone in Greenwood. We encourage you guys all to attend. Maybe don't all attend at the exact same time and talk together in a quorum. But to maybe either stagger your times, not talk about official business, but we do feel that your input as citizens of Greenwood and patrons of our businesses and community leaders is important, so we do want to hear from you. But yeah, Sean, no quorum
Yes, thank you.
at the meeting.
Will there be cookies and?
I was gonna ask.
Cookies and cupcakes.
There'll be,
Yeah, that sounds like college, yeah.
Refreshments.
there'll be plenty of books available.
Yeah.
Bring your own cookies. It's on the motto. So thank you for bringing those to the meeting. I'll be sure to let the public know.
Our next meeting. will be-
Yeah.
That's the September 11th.
Well,
Yes.
the August 28th, our next meeting will be a presentation, so there are two things.
August 28th.
Yeah,
I thought
There were
that
two
was
comp plans.
September 11th.
No, he said in 2 weeks he'll give you an update.
Okay.
so in 2 weeks, our meeting.
September 12th is a community workshop, and in 2 weeks at Plan Commission will be a presentation.
Okay, I thought you did. I blew that. One other announcement, my vacation schedule is getting in the way again. I will be out of town in 2 weeks. I'll be on a houseboat, a platform that has a house sitting on it.
So you're gonna do a ship to shore call?
So if there is cell phone
Wanted
service.
to take a vacation.
Remote
Well, I'm
conditions.
getting to that part. If there is cell phone service, I'll see if I can't log in. And then on September 11th, I'll be out of town the other direction, but I'll have good cell phone service, so I know I'll log in then.
Be there, be square.
Mark, any updates on the Main Street closure?
Direct you to the project manager in the mayor's office.
That's not.
Not his program
manager.
Yeah, not his project, not his program. So it's
Or
not
his
fair to
circus,
ask him
or
to
his
speak on it.
monkeys.
There's a big hole in the middle of the road, they
Right
put
now.
some
That's the
rock,
update.
That's the
There's a whole-
update, is the,
and they put some rock in there.
okay,
Is that fair, Mark?
Not my circus, not my monkey.
It's easier to speak,
Same.
it's easier on a project like that as someone who has managed a lot of projects in my life. When it's not your project, it's much easier to speak in past tense than it is in future tense, predict what they're going to do. Any other questions or announcements or?
move to adjourn.